The Noobs Vs Zombies series is a series of games made by multiple creators, such as Somedeviser, Sicknoobie, Meldo227, and other people. These games ranges from fully fledged out strategy games like Noobs Vs Zombies Tycoon 2 to comedic shooters like Realish. These games tell a long story of wars which takes place in Somedeviser games. Today, we will be diving into the full story of the nvz series, but before we do that, I will explain the factions. Also, make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this.
Noobs are basically just humans without a brain, and live in a large nation, having a monarchy and a new king to rule over all the other noobs. The noobs were created accidentally when a country removed a prisoner of war's brain as a method of execution, inadvertently creating the first noob, who, after escaping, became the first noob king. While it remains a mystery to this day how the noobs can survive without having a brain, their faction thrives thanks to their violent and unpredictable nature, as well as modern technology stolen from the humans. The noobs are the main enemy of the zombies, standing toe-to-toe with them thanks to their uncanny abilities in a bid for world domination.
The zombies are coming.
Zombies were created as a bioweapon against the noobs, and consist of a large nation with a monarchy, having a zombie king to rule over them. Since they were born after the noobs, many of the zombies weren't able to steal much advanced modern technology from the humans, and instead had to develop mostly everything from the ground up. Even though this is considered a huge disadvantage, zombies are still able to compete directly with the noobs, due to having an advantage over intelligence. Even now, they often run their kingdom much better than the noobs. One thing to mention is that zombies are much more passionate and serious when it comes to brotherhood love, making sure each zombie gets help from one another, if in need of help. And they were often more prone to shed blood against their enemies to protect each other. They were also created as a weapon against the noobs by the humans. However, they were in a parasitic form until the events of Cakeo.
You are so strange. What are you? I'm a Robloxian. I'm not the oddity. You're a banana.
Ruled by their powerful king Roblox, the guests passionately pay horrendous amounts of taxes to their king. While guests dominate zombies easily, their biggest competitors on the battlefield are chaotic zombies.
The chaotic zombies, ruled by their powerful king Devil. Hellish zombies live in harsh but peaceful environments deep underground near the hot Earth's core. While chaotics dominate Noob easily, the biggest competitors on the battlefield are guests. Chaotic zombies were originally regular zombies, but they got thrown down to the Earth's core as punishment for the heinous acts. Glory to the chaotic zombies!
The red and blue noobs are so fashioned in the noobs. They only appear in Realish, Noob Wars, and red and blue noobs division, but they played a huge role in lore such as helping the darkness with Cakeo, and appearing in Judge's Races with Killing Skins, while also trying to destroy the Holy Core in red and blue noobs division. They were originally a small gang but became a militia during the events of Noob Wars.
The Hobo faction comes from the extreme mental severity humans suffered from and or from being exposed to the toxic radiation waste released from nuclear weapons, making them overall crazy and overall just brain dead, even forgetting how to use their own language, and going mostly primitive. Hobo factions function in an uncontrolled society where they commonly fight each other. Although the most unstable human faction, they are the strongest human faction due to the argumentation and radiation, making them stronger and the most polluted human faction left for humanity. Hobos have a natural gift of finding food easily, making them less susceptible to starving out and can adapt to many environments that most humans can't. The Hobos somehow have a leader named the Hobo King who is one of the strongest in the verse, but suffers from his intelligence being randomized. Also, side note, you should try out this cool new game called Noobs Vs Zombies Legions. It's a cool fan-made spin-off of the original Realish and Tycoon series made by Somedeviser that combines both elements from your two favorite games into one. You should definitely try it out.
The casuals.
The Casual faction is a faction of humans who have suffered greatly and strongly believe the planet is already doomed. After seeing it being destroyed heavily during World War III and seeing the Noobs take over, the Casual faction consists of humans who strongly believe they are already doomed and believe they should spend the rest of their lives chilling and enjoying their life casually with the little time they have left while hidden away. Casuals often play games with each other and party if they're in a situation that allows them to party with one another. Casuals are very hesitant when it comes to preserving their lives or putting effort into anything, often running out of food and starving to death, or even allowing a fat man, commonly known as Fat Man, rule over them. If casuals suspect you disturbing their party or chilling time, they'll usually attack you with the weapons they salvaged at their area or from areas before.
The Militants. The Militant faction is composed of humans who strongly believe humanity has a chance of reclaiming the planet from other factions. Even after suffering heavy losses during World War III, losing against the Noobs incredibly during their human versus Noobs war, and suffering from a faction division thanks to the Zombies, they still believe there is a chance for humanity to come out on top. Full of pride, confident, and equipped with conveniently left behind military gear and vehicles, militants are heavily armed and continually train themselves for preparation against the Noobs and Zombies. Oftentimes, militants go on recruit missions to try and increase the numbers of their militant group. However, many humans consider militants crazy, and sometimes try to take advantage of them by stealing their resources or outright killing them. A lot of times the humans that militants encounter are so uncooperative they're actually considered a danger, threatening to expend the little medical resources militants have. This usually leads to the militants killing more humans than the Noobs or Zombies they plan on overcoming.
The Survivors. The Survivor faction comes from humans who yearn for their own survival and will do anything to preserve their own lives. Despite the fact that the humans have lost complete control over the earth and have suffered greatly, survivors stick together and salvage as much as they can. Often lacking intelligent humans, survivors are keen on wasting resources such as food and water for pitiful or unnecessary reasons, causing many of them to starve out, dehydrate, or will settle on unhealthy foods and drinks, causing diseases and sickness. Some survivor groups are known for commonly practicing cannibalism on other humans if necessary, and each group may fight each other at times. Usually, each survivor group is led by a present ringleader who leads the rest of the group or run by a sort of democracy within the group. Oftentimes, survivors conflict with other human groups for the purpose of gathering resources for only themselves or for self-defense purposes.
The rebel faction comes from humans who strongly believe the planet is already doomed. Instead of chilling as much as they can like those casuals, they believe they should speed up the process for the destruction of humanity and burn the rest of the planet. Rebels function like an anarchy. While they may not kill other rebels immediately, they are not hesitant to kill other humans who get their way, with or without reason. Some rebels may fight against the Noobs and Zombies like shown in Onslaught and Tycoon 2, but they commonly avoid them because of how incredibly hostile and dangerous they are towards humans. Rebels follow no society or rules and are often led by those purely for power, such as a dictator or by how psychotic they are.
Since we're done with the factions, I will now explain the events of the Noobs vs Zombies. The story order goes from WW3 all the way into Realish 2, but these are the chronological order from newest to oldest. Noobs vs Zombies Realish 2. Noobs vs Zombies Realish. Noobs vs Zombies Tycoon 2. Noobs vs Zombies Tycoon. Cakeo. Noob Wars includes Red and Blue Invasion, Humans vs Zombies. Noob Life. Humans vs Noobs. World War III. WW3 should be self-explainable, but it caused most of humanity to be wiped out and caused the creation of the Noobs.
Humans vs Noobs was a period where the radiation had settled to an acceptable point, so the humans left their bunkers and found an established kingdom waiting for their arrival. A war ensued where the Noobs eventually emerged victorious thanks to their numbers and pushed the humans back, whilst also taking their advanced technology to progress their own kingdom.
The Noob life era was when the Noob Kingdom was at its all-time peak before the events of Cakeo and after the events of the Noobs vs Humans war. This was an era where the Noobs had complete control over the earth and had no threats to deal with. All the humans went into complete hiding after defeating them, and they lived their life peacefully. The Noobs built many towns, many cities, and even established kingdoms which were all allowed and authorized under the Noob King, who still rules over the Noobs. And their civilization was pretty much near modern thanks to the goods they took from the humans. The Noob population then grew larger and kept on expanding as they reproduced naturally. Over time though, issues became apparent in Noob life and weren't being taken care of. The economy started to get bad, specifically for poor noobs, which led to a lot of crimes happening in Noob life, especially with the rise of gangs and criminal organizations like Red Noobs, Blue Noobs, and even Mafia Noobs. Some noobs even took a darker path by becoming kidnappers, psychopaths, or even terrorists. Some noobs took the criminal path because it was considered cool, or it was considered the trend, or it was to get back at the police for not enforcing their laws. While no wars occurred during the time of noob life, violence and death did occasionally happen, and there was an economic gap, especially with the poor noobs and the rich noobs. And since there was so much popularity in the red noobs and blue noobs, despite being the more poor gangs, they eventually grew so large that it led to the start of the Noob Wars.
Noob Wars is a war between the red/blue noobs, and that the regular noobs were able to avoid participating in the war, but that the zombies, in their parasite forms, started slowly creeping in and infecting bodies in that war.
Cakeo, a world of cakes named for the fact of life on it. You look anywhere, there may be cake, whether you're in the mantle or on the surface. It is a natural phenomenon. The history on Cakeo and Somedeviser's universe is thorough, but first, a prelude. After the noobs already settled their kingdom, now in Cakeo, following prior events, war for supremacy broke out between the red and blue factions. We operated much like a gang would, an avial alternative to the mafias. The Mafia was fairly selective, and very limited. These factions were much more attractive, more accepting, more open. For this reason, many flocked to them. But, they had one rule. If you would wear the opposing color, you would die. And this did not count for just them. It was for every noob. And so like that, a long war brewed within the kingdom. There had been noobs who would spectate, watch from the sidelines. And in fact, just as it happened, those spectators, a few of them that is, had the chance to spot a darkly colored cake that fell from the skies above. Enthusiasm was strong. The noobs hadn't enjoyed their cake after all. And so, those enthusiastic few who got the luck of it had got their hands on the dessert, and they ate it. Only then had they learned something though. This cake held for their consumers a power which was yet unmatched by anybody else. The dark noobs were created. Mercy, wisdom, and truth. Together, they stepped out from the shadows and began conquering the reds and blues. The dark noobs turned the tide of war in their own favor. Followers both fearful and all rallied behind them. Before long, a new prize was sought. The reigns of a new kingdom. Their march when opposed by the king. By consequence, entire swaths of the territory were devastated. By raw power and battle, the kingdom was left in shambles. Satisfied, the dark noobs opened a portal to Cakeo. They passed into that, and with them came the combined might of the Reds and Blues. The king and his subjects were bitter. Their homes were no more than history now. The king rallied those left through the portal to confront the dark noobs and lay waste to them. Not everything was as it seemed though. Smaller than any glance might glean, the lab products of humanity had thrived from the war. Dead bodies fueled a multiplying population of parasites. Wherever noobs went, the parasites followed as one. No portal would impede them. The cards were down, and that campaign of vengeance unleashed shows of force never seen before. The king and dark noob of mercy had ruled at one point. Armies clashed, lush landscapes erode to craters, and fights like these took place all over Cakeo. Parasites had even gone so far as to infect a dark noob, though the results of this were inconclusive, besides an increase in that one's capability for a time. Hardly anywhere was untouched by war, or the parasite infection. The world itself could not be held intact any longer. It was going unstable. and every being on the world, even the infestation, came to realize this. An exodus to the portal began. The final hours of Cakeo saw the desperation of the parasite hive mind. To escape, the collective could not remain how they were. It was time for the final evolution to something arguably weaker, but full of potential all the same. In his vision, each parasite would become its own mind, its own body. And at that point, Cakeo's core, it had enough. The world detonated in an outward explosion. Anything that could not get past that portal in time, or had sacrificed itself, it was no more. The portal was closed, and all that was left for the many surviving noobs and the up-and-coming zombies was the world they knew before as their home. It was time to hide, rebuild, and recover. At some point during the reconstruction of the Noob Kingdom, the ruler of the moon saw an audience and slipped past the Noob defenses in a personal saucer. The guest had arrived, and they introduced themselves. To these aliens, the Noobs had been an interesting civilization. An offer was presented by the guest. As a show of respect, the Noobs would pay a tribute to the visitors. The king of the Noobs was unpleased, however. To him, his kind, taxation like that seemed like subjugation. Surprised by the hostility, the aliens swiftly retreated, but they proposed another offer, an alliance. Though begrudgingly, the Noob King made the decision to accept the second proposal. This would be more than vital for the years of war to come for the Noob Kingdom.
Noobs vs Zombies Tycoon 1 was a time of getting resources, and the first time the Noobs and Zombies started a war between each other. This is also where the Zombies formed the alliance of chaotic zombies, until the guest was the Noobs' ally.
Zombies Tycoon 2 is a resource war, but there are many major events such as Z-Day, destroy a radio tower that the Noobs had crucial info on, but the Zombies lost the invasion. There was a Noob scientist known as Sprinkle-Shiz, which was like Trickler, but blueprints for the weapons. None of his weapons were ever mass-produced, however.
Realish is considered the deadliest time frame between the Noobs and Zombies, and when it's most, if not all, of the humans went into hiding. During this time frame, the Noobs and Zombies were in a strong tie, with a large contributing factor being the fact that their allies, the Guests and Chaotix respectively, had been taking their own fighting against one another into space. This is also when major events occur, like the weaponization of the Injector, dedicational defense, the creation of the Elite Gang, and humanity's revenge. One of the most notable locations we see within Realish is the maze, and it is extremely important to the lore of the game, being the set piece of crucial events in the timeline. The maze, which also doubles as Trickler's laboratory, was an enormous, complex labyrinth that Trickler used for his experiments. Filled with deadly traps and other surprises, Trickler would throw kidnapped noobs into the facility, monitoring them via cameras and reports from zombie patrols. In-game, the center of the maze is populated with stalker mutants, which are loyal to no team. From this, along with the infectionist gas traps also found in-game, we can assume that Trickler likely experimented with his mutants in the maze. Also found within the maze are creatures known as evil beasts and night savagers. According to the developer, these are meant to serve as hallucinations that the noobs are experiencing, most likely caused by hallucinogenic drugs. We can assume that their gameplay implementation isn't 100% accurate though, as zombies and other noobs can see and interact with the same creatures. It is also unlikely that most of the exits in the maze are canon, with the only confirmed exit being the zombie HQ, the Injector. The Injector is a powerful piece of technology that by the end of the Realish timeframe is mass-produced and heavily utilized by both factions. That wasn't originally the case though. Trickler, a lead zombie experimentalist, found the Injector abandoned in storage, with no indication of its original creator. After testing it out on a noob with minimal but promising results, he decided to further research it and improve it. When eventually made useful as a proper weapon of war, the Injector gave a significant advantage to the zombies, but unfortunately that wouldn't be the case for long. One fateful night, 5 noobs broke into the zombie HQ section of the maze, which was connected to Trickler's laboratory. After fighting their way to his observation room, they managed to beat the crap out of him. With Trickler lying helpless on the floor, the Noobs stole the formula needed to produce the mutation fluid used by injectors, and blew up the maze as they made a hasty getaway. This caused the ultimate death of Trickler. Contrary to popular belief, he was not pushed out a window. Dedicational Defense. Sometime after Trickler's death, the events of Dedicational Defense, or DD, took place. The Noobs had discovered the Holy Core, a powerful artifact which had been absorbing energy of the sun for seemingly hundreds of years. At the time, it was guarded by militants, who were trying to use its energy to power a rocket so they could escape to Mars. The Noobs massacred them, taking control of the Holy Core themselves so they could use its power to supercharge some of their army. It didn't take long for the zombies to find out about this, and so the Zombie King sent Colossal and Splatoon to take the Holy Core for their own faction. The zombies sieged the location of the Holy Core, but unfortunately their combined strength was not enough, and Colossal, along with most of his platoon, was killed. While the attack was a failure, it left the Noobs weakened, and while they attempted to transport the Holy Core somewhere more protected, they were ambushed successfully by Red and Blue Noobs. After seizing the Holy Core, Bonder used the last of its energy to form the Elite Gang. The Elite Gang consisted of 2 Super Red Noobs, 2 Super Blue Noobs, and Evolved Bonder. Humanity's Revenge. The last part of the Realish time frame is Humanity's Revenge. Taking place a while after Dedicational Defense, it is caused by the events of President Martha. Surprisingly, Martha had survived the massacre at the Holy Core, and had managed to absorb some of its power before the attack. His black genetics allow him to use the Holy Core's power exponentially more efficiently, and so he was able to destroy both noob and zombie strongholds, with minimal forces and casualties. The power of the Holy Core also gave him newfound intelligence, allowing him to build powerful robots such as the Annihilator and several mech suits. He plans on creating several nuclear missiles with stealth capabilities to wipe out the noobs and zombies.
Liberty City is a survival-based game mode where a group of civilians are trapped near a warehouse. The noobs defend the warehouse from the horde of mutants that come in wave after wave, in order for an evacuation to pick them up. The noobs cannot please survive or succumb to the horde of mutants.